Welcome into another edition of KARE 11 Sports Plus. I got my homegirl, Julia Daniels, hanging out with me as always every week. We're off the rails already.
As per usual.
welcome in. We got plenty of good stuff your way, talking Wolves, on the court, off the court, and of course we got to talk about that Super Bowl, the complete domination that we saw that I don't think I was expecting. Were you expecting that?
No, I would never expect that.
Yeah.
With Patrick Mahomes on the field.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
Turns out she was right. I was really wrong considering what happened in that Super Bowl. Goodness gracious. All right, but let's get into it. The big news this week is the Timberwolves ownership drama is soon to be behind everyone. Right? Arbitration, 3-person panel. They ruled in favor of Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry in a 2-1 decision, awarding them the rights to continue their pursuit of purchasing the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx franchises. So this seems to be like coming to a conclusion, right? And so I talked to Jon Krawczynski. He told me about how the Lowry A-Rod ownership group, they have $950 million in escrow.
Pocket change, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Flush with cash, as Mark Lowry said. They have that in escrow right now, along with a representative from Google on their ownership team, and also still billionaire Michael Bloomberg as well on their ownership team as well, to just go ahead and just buy the remaining stake of Glenn Taylor in the franchises. $1.55 billion sale, which is crazy. And I think I kind of understand Glenn Taylor's motivations because now the Wolves are north of $3 billion net worth.
Yeah. I mean, it was a convenient time.
Yeah. He's like, nah, never mind. Don't worry about that.
You guys are late. We're not extending this, that, and the other. So, yeah, I think we all kind of saw exactly what was going on.
In real time.
The Wolves are playing the best they've ever played in franchise history, and they're having this historic season. All of a sudden, selling the team doesn't seem so appealing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like the right money move.
It's off.
Yeah.
Sell is off.
Yeah, so I think it was an interesting take because obviously the two sides were talking to media, but you never heard that, did you? From anybody?
Yeah.
We all saw through what was happening here, right? But I'll be honest. From what I've heard, obviously I don't know a ton about how legal things work. What I had heard was people that are knowledgeable about the subject were not expecting A-Rod and Lowry to win this arbitration suit. That was the opinion that I got from people that know more about this than I do. So I was a little bit shocked when I found out that the decision went the way that it did. However, I think that Wolves fans are excited because with Glenn Taylor, you've gotten a lot of the same thing, and it's been mediocre at best. For the most part. And so they're excited for something new. They're excited that Bloomberg is a part of this too, because that means that, I think people were concerned a little bit about not having Glenn Taylor's money behind because he's willing to pay a luxury tax. He's willing to do these things. Now they know that there is solid backing behind this group. So I think that Wolves fans are excited, and there's been some talks about some new things for the franchise potentially.
Yeah. So as I said, talked to Jon Krawczynski this week. That full conversation is on KARE11.com and also on KARE 11's YouTube right now. So check that out. Really good stuff with Krawczynski. But here's a bit of information from him regarding what could be next with A-Rod and Lowry.
By the NBA and do take over the Timberwolves and Lynx. Now I think it is going to be time for them to put a lot of their talk into action. They have said publicly that they are working on plans for a privately financed arena. What exactly that looks like, we don't know yet. They have also said that they are working on a broadcasting arrangement to address the regional sports network difficulties across the entire NBA, including here in the Twin Cities. And so they have been thinking about these things. They have been putting together plans over the last year or more to really put their stamp on this organization. And we are getting closer and closer to the day where they can start to put those things into action, and we see what those look like in reality versus just the hypotheticals that they were talking about.
Yeah, so anytime you have someone from Google and Mr. Bloomberg
right.
back in your ownership group, I think you're going to be in good shape for a new TV deal and also a new arena, possibly in the old Minneapolis Farmers Market location that's been brought up quite a bit. And so I'm interested to see how this plays out. And to John's point, now they're going to have to start putting these plans in action. They've been making these plans behind the scenes over the last year and talking about these things. And now we want to see what exactly that's going to, turn into in terms of maybe venturing away from Target Center now and going into a new arena and possibly seeing what's something like what the Twins just did with Twins.tv and having something that is strictly Wolves and Lynx. And so I'm interested to see how that works out. But John Krasinski also told me it was not going to be something that takes those teams out of Minnesota, because I know that was that was a big worry. I don't think
that's the case.
No, they seem to be energized to try to build this thing up here in Minnesota, and now that they are going to gain control of the team, still has to go through NBA Board of Approval, which they feel like is going to be a smooth and seamless process. But once that clears, I think they can finally put some things in motion and also probably spend a little bit of money as well. But it was interesting to talk to Krasinski about this, because he said that even with these teams who are quote unquote flush with cash, he mentioned Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, they still aren't necessarily willing to go too deep into this second apron because the tax ramifications are so big. And so I'm interested to see how they kind of shake this thing out, because they did trade Cat, and we saw that and the ripples that it has had on this team. Now I'm interested to see what exactly they do next.
Well, and I will say, Wolves fans, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some changes sooner rather than later, because Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry have already renovated parts of Target Center that maybe regular fans don't see. There is, they renovated a lot of the basement down there. Maybe if you pay a little bit more money, you see it when you're at a game. But I think they've already taken some steps of, we're a part of this. We want to invest, we want to make a change. And I think that it's not going to take too long for Wolves fans to sit around and wait for that to happen.
So we got a couple more weeks still probably before this whole thing gets wrapped up. And then you'll see Lowry and A-Rod take full center stage as owners of the Wolves and the Lynx. And also maybe hang another banner up at Target Center before they go away from Target Center. Only Malik Sealy and Flip up there, which understandably so. But maybe getting KG up there.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Now that he's got some good blood in the
Yeah, because he said he wants nothing to do with Glenn Taylor, but now maybe he'll come back around. So that's still to be seen what happens with that, but of course we'll keep you updated on that. But coming up after the break, we go on the court with the Timberwolves and talk about what they have going on headed into the All-Star break. All right, Juju, let's go on the court with the Wolves now. That last showing against the Cavaliers.
Yikes.
Not necessarily a good thing, but Anthony Edwards did score 40 points again. 3 straight games with 40. That is a franchise record. It's so crazy seeing Ant break all these franchise records this year. And then you kind of think, okay, the Timberwolves aren't necessarily all that old of a franchise. And so you're like, okay, all right, that makes sense. But before it's all said and done, Ant may have every record that could be had.
I wouldn't be shocked.
In the Wolves' history and their lore. And so I'm interested to see if he can keep that streak going. They play the Bucks, their rivals on the border. Do you call it a border battle? Not really a rivalry there, but they play the Bucks for the first time this season.
The newsroom, it creates a border battle.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. A lot of Minnesota, Wisconsin people, if that makes sense in your mind.
Yeah.
And so, okay, no Giannis. So not necessarily even talking about the game that's happening tonight.
Right.
But great showing without Ant on Saturday. You saw that game on KARE 11. Great game. Running into a team in the Blazers that was a red hot team going into. They lost 3 straight since then. But they were surging with Chauncey Billups in that roster. And so you see them kind of play well without Ant, Jaden McDaniels. 30.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because if we look at the Cavs game, Ant had 44 points.
Yep.
No one else cracked 15.
I know.
So it feels like maybe they're relying offensively on him too much.
Yeah.
And so when he's not out there, all of a sudden, shots are going down, shots are available, right? Because every coach is going to tell you it's not about the shot itself, it's about having the opportunity for one. So, I mean, so Mike and Ant are questionable once again. If Ant's not playing, it kind of makes you wonder if maybe they spread the ball out a little bit more. It's less relying on Ant. It's a weird spot to be in because if you looked at his stats, you would think he's on a team that does well when he does these things, and yet they still lose by over 20 points even when he's putting up numbers like that. So I think they've yet to strike a balance with him on the court, which is not his fault, right? But I do think something's got to change because you can't not have Ant.
Exactly.
You know? And so it's something they've got to figure out and soon.
Yeah, I really like what we've been seeing in the offensive maturation of a Jaden McDaniels.
Yes.
Because he's a guy that if you can get a legitimate 3-and-D player out of him, like that is a dangerous thing for this Timberwolves team. You almost, you need your Batman, which is Anthony Edwards, but you also need a Robin. And I think that Robin this year is someone like Julius Randle. So he has to get healthy and get back. He is needed. Oh, by the way, leading the Wolves in assists when he went out.
Right.
Like you would think a guy that's pretty ball dominant, but he leads the team in assists when he gets injured. And so now he's a big presence that's missed in that lineup. No Dante either. You miss him with dealing with that toe injury as well. You kind of want to see, and I think that's the reason why the Wolves probably stood pat at the trade deadline, because they feel like if they have the full complement of the roster that they assembled in the offseason, they feel like they have a chance. Also with Anthony Edwards kind of taking his game to the next level. You kind of want to see everybody play a little bit more in sync though. Like you want to see big nights from Jaden McDaniels, big nights from Rob Dillingham, big nights from Naz Reid, while Ant is also playing as well to just put it all together. You do like what you see from Jalen Clark. You know, we mentioned him last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a one-on-one sit down with him. That's also available on Care 11. And he's a great kid. And he's seatbelt on defense. And so that's really his calling card. But what you've seen from him, especially as he's been in the lineup and been cracking this rotation, 10, 15, close to 20 minutes a game.
Great, which like 2 weeks ago he didn't
I know. So. He's still a two-way player going back and forth from Iowa, but then you see the offensive production start to come alive from him, and you see some of his finishing ability at the rim, and you're like, oh, what? I didn't know he had this in his bag. And it was just like, well, that wasn't necessarily something that was required of him at UCLA, and he was a lockdown defender, but I think that's a welcome development because you're talking about a guy who missed all of last year, and now he's getting playing time over guys like Leonard Miller and Josh Minot. Like, this is a development. And so if they can continue to develop the young guys, I think someone mentioned Rob Dillingham said that the game was easy, and since he said that, it's been hard.
Right, yeah.
So,
he's
a young guy. You got to watch what you say, my guy.
He did say that.
but I do think he's going to continue to, he's got to take his lumps and figure it out, similar to Royce Lewis when he was talking about slumping. He's like, I don't do slumps. That's not me. And then he ends the season last year with the slump. He's like, don't say the quiet part out loud,
It's
athlete
early in
jinx.
Your career. Let's not act like anything's consistent.
Yeah, athlete jinx, just, keep doing what you're doing. Leave let the superstitions play out because you don't want to jinx yourself. And so I'm interested to see if some of these young guys continue to step up. Terrence Shannon Jr. is good for a poster anytime he gets into the game.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Almost immediately.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nasty out there. And so I'm interested to see how they continue to mature. They got the Milwaukee Bucks, as we said, and then the OKC Thunder before they head into the All-Star break. And so those are two good games. Like I said, Giannis is out, but OKC, hottest team in the league.
Right.
That's a good game that you want to, see what you can do against a team like that. Because right now, look at the standings. Taking a look at the standings, they are number 7.
Yeah. Wolves
are sitting at 7 at 30-24. Right now, that's good enough for a play-in.
Yet. Right.
So, but then you look, the Clippers are 29-23. So, like, there is room for them to jump up into that top 6 and avoid the play-in. And I'm interested to see if they find a way to turn it on, especially after the All-Star break.
I'm interested to see tonight, too, how they defend Damian Lillard. I mean, he's always, an offensive threat. He's
game time decision as well.
Right, yeah. So we'll see if he's out there. They picked up Kyle Kuzma last week, who gave the Wolves fits when he was with the Wizards the other week. So it'll be interesting to see, and it'll also be, we'll have to see what the rotation looks like too, obviously, with the Wolves tonight. But it's anybody's game at this point, I feel like, in the West. It's a very competitive conference.
Yeah.
Like you said, OKC's the best.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the rest, it's very much in the air and up for grabs.
Yeah.
And so that makes it exciting for us too, because every game is competitive and every game matters at this point. And so this is the time of year where the NBA just really gets heated up.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable.
Yeah. Now, the Lakers, they've been streaking now that they've gotten Luka going. And that's
in a shocking turn of events.
My mind
still good.
Yeah. Still can't compute that trade and why Dallas would do something like that. Anthony Davis is already hurt. And so
non-contact injury.
Yeah.
And another shocking turn of events.
Exactly. So, Lakers looking like the winners of that trade. The Nuggets are playing much better. So, this West is probably going to go down to the wire, but you don't want to see a play-in for the Wolves headed into this end of this season. Right. So, I'm interested to see if they can find some streaks to go on the winning side.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough basketball talk. We're going to talk some pigskin after the break and get Juju's reaction to the ridiculous Super Bowl that we saw. We'll be back. Welcome back. Okay, we got to get into this Super Bowl, okay? But before we talk about the game, quick reaction to the halftime show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Number one, when I first saw him, the jeans, spectacular.
You love a good bell-bottom.
I love a bell-bottom boot cut jean. I love him, and he rocked them.
Yeah.
Loved the Gloria jacket that he had on. If you don't know, Kendrick and SZA have a song called Gloria together. Loved that. I thought the dancers were incredible. I thought Samuel L. Jackson, hello.
Yeah.
The symbolism was awesome, very artistic, very creative. It was great. What did you think?
No MF from Samuel L. Jackson was used, so that was probably the shocker of the century there. Also, talking about attire, the A minor chain.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So there were two losers on Super Bowl Sunday.
Drake.
And the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Chiefs. Did you expect that?
I'm going to be honest. No.
Okay.
I knew that the Eagles defense was good. I think in the last, here recently, we've seen some glimpses, but that D-line.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen them play like that all year. I will say they've been solid all year, but we've not. That was just like against Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
Of all quarterbacks,
I know.
too. You don't have a much better game than that. Also, Jalen Hurts played his best games of the season.
In the Super Bowl once again.
In the Super Bowl and also
the NFC Championship.
The NFC Championship. So I think people owe Jalen Hurts some apologies because they dogged on him a lot. All season, and they have for a while. Obviously, I'm a big Jalen fan. We know this. He was my quarterback in college, but I just think it was something that none of us expected. You don't ever expect a Super Bowl to go lopsided like that.
Yeah, no.
Ever?
No.
Especially against the Chiefs.
I know.
Of all teams, if we're talking about modern era sports.
Yeah.
So it was shocking to me. And I think it's been interesting to watch Jalen Hurts. We'll get into this in a second. Jalen Hurts' media tour has been interesting as well.
Yeah. I think Jalen Hurts will say, so that's what y'all wanted to see, huh? Yeah.
He said, rain, sleet, or snow, the Eagles are ready to go.
Yeah. Put on a show on Super Bowl Sunday. That was I just couldn't believe what I was watching, just a pure domination. And what
Cooper DeJean?
Yeah. What was the birthday boy, him and Saquon?
Yeah.
The crazy part about that whole thing was we've seen Patrick Mahomes playing some of the biggest games of his life.
Right.
And for some reason, during that Super Bowl, he looked like Sam Darnold in those last 2 weeks of the Viking season. He was hurried. He stepped up into pressure, which was just very odd to see. He was rattled. At halftime, the Eagles had 24 points. The Chiefs had 24 yards.
Is that not crazy?
What?
Also, I mean, Patrick Mahomes sure didn't play his best, but his O-line really didn't play well either.
Yeah.
That was tough. I mean, back to that Eagles D-line, I was scared watching them, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, they got some dudes.
Yeah, they do. And you know what? They got a lot of Georgia and Alabama guys on that Eagles roster.
SEC.
I'm just saying.
Just means more.
And they pulled from those teams when they were at their pinnacle, too, right? Like, they drafted all of those guys from the teams that were, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22.
Yeah.
That's where all those guys are from. And who was winning national championships during that time? Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's paying off, their efforts there.
Yeah, how about Nick Muse and Louis Cine getting Super Bowl rings? 2022 draft picks by the Minnesota Vikings. And Nick Muse is in the locker room after the game shotgunning a beer with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Nick Muse thought his season was over.
Dude, I watched Nick Muse walk past me in Arizona for that playoff game in street clothes holding a football high and tight. Gets picked up by the Eagles practice squad, and he's on the Super Bowl team, and he gets a ring. That's incredible.
And in the background of the video where they're shotgunning beers, him and Saquon, is Landon Dickerson with an IV in his arm.
Oh my goodness.
Getting hydrated, but a beer in the other hand.
Oh my goodness. I mean, everything that you want to see. And then AJ Brown saying, yeah, it's been a couple days and it doesn't feel like I thought it would feel. I want more. I'm just like, what more can you get?
He's a competitor.
I guess.
Competitor.
People in Minnesota reading that like, what? What do you mean? I would kill to have a Lombardi, and you're talking about it doesn't hit the same? Like, what?
What do we, okay. But honestly, it's the competitor in him. I will say, obviously, people have speculated about tensions about how much he's doing a lot of blocking and not a lot of catching. So maybe that has a little something to do with that in there, because let's be honest, Jalen's not going to necessarily throw the ball 80%.
I know, he's not a 45 passes type of a quarterback.
Right. So I think it was an interesting, and what is the word I'm looking for here? He wants you to read into this, right? He wants you to question what he's talking about.
It's a riddle. We'll call him the Riddler. But switching gears though, just what we saw in that Super Bowl, one, it showed me the game is won in the trenches. Yeah. And I think it's incredible to see how if you have some holes or if you have some flaws, they get exploited and magnified in the biggest games.
Yes.
The Chiefs kicked their all-pro guard out to left tackle. It was not a good day for him.
Nope.
Trey Smith could be a target for the Vikings in free agency. Was not a good day for him. Granted, it's not a good day for anybody going against Jalen Carter, right? And
he's a scary man.
He's crazy. If Aaron Donald is calling you like the next thing, like, yeah, you're probably pretty good. And so what it told me was that the Vikings, and this is something that they know because that was something that Kevin O'Connell talked about.
Right.
At the end of the game in the press conference, talking about how he needs to shore up the interior of the offensive line.
Right.
But also, they need to shore up the interior of the defensive line as well, because the Eagles got so much pressure on Patrick Mahomes, did not blitz once.
Right.
That means that their guys were beating their one-on-one matchups and getting home. Probably a little stunts and all that stuff going on too, but they're getting home with just a regular rush. And I know Brian Flores, he does a lot of exotic things to get guys running free at the quarterback. And that's great, but sometimes you don't want to have to always do that. And so I think what I saw is if they can shore up the offensive line and the defensive line, maybe they can do something maybe they can get further than just one and done in the playoffs. Maybe they can get to a Super Bowl. We still got to figure out the quarterback position first, though.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, and they severely missed Christian Darrisaw.
Absolutely.
This season, and Kevin O'Connell even said that in his end of season presser was, it's hard to replace a guy like that. We did our best, but he kind of gave a shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
We did our best, but that's their guy, right?
Yeah.
And they invested in him too. But
exactly.
You're right, absolutely right. The game is one of the trenches, as we saw on Sunday. That was rough.
It was. And now we miss football because we won't see any live games until August. So football, we miss you. Baseball, basketball, hockey, all the above. Be good to us while we wait for football to come back. Well, anyway, that'll do it for us today on KARE 11 Sports Plus. That's Juju. I'm Reggie. We'll see you next week.